Welcome to Digital Learning, an initiative of Directorate of Collegiate Education, Government of Karnataka. Eloquentia 3 is the title of the general English textbook prescribed for third semester BSc under the State Education Policy for Bengaluru City University. I am Nandana NG, Assistant Professor of English, Government First Grade College, Malleshwaram. The contents of this session: objectives, followed by the session outcomes. Tara, a mirror to patriarchy and identity, that is a critical analysis of the play Tara, followed by a recapitulation session and a multiple choice question session. Objectives of this session: to critically examine Mahesh Dattani's narrative style and dramatic techniques, to analyze the play's exploration of gender bias, patriarchy, and societal norms, to understand the psychological depth of characters and their symbolic roles, to evaluate Tara as a reflection of contemporary Indian society and family dynamics, to encourage analytical and interpretative skills in literary study. The learning outcomes of this session: at the end of the session, the student will gain a comprehensive understanding of the thematic depth of Tara. The student will have the ability to identify and critique key literary and dramatic devices used by Dattani. The student will also be able to develop insights into the social, cultural, and ethical questions raised by the play. It will, in turn, strengthen skills in critical thinking and literary interpretation. The student will be able to present well-rounded arguments and perspectives on Tara. What is critical analysis? Critical analysis is a deep examination of a text to uncover its meanings, themes, and techniques. Critical analysis studies how characters, structure, and context shape a narrative. So this session is titled Tara, a mirror to patriarchy and identity. Structural and narrative technique. The play uses a non-linear narrative, beginning with Dan or the older Chandan in London and moving back into memory. The play within a play technique allows the audience to see the story as Dan recalls it, emphasizing memory and guilt. The fragmented structure mirrors the fragmented identities of the characters, especially Chandan, Dan, and Tara. By juxtaposing past and present, Dattani highlights how unresolved trauma continues to haunt individual. There is an image here. Just look at that. This is how a non-linear narrative goes. The person could be anywhere in the timeline. Through a series of flashback and flash forward, he keeps alternating between present and past. And through the course of it, the memories associated with trauma also can be seen. Theme of gender discrimination. The surgery decision becomes the central symbol of patriarchy, where the boy Chandan is given preference over the girl Tara. Tara, though intelligent and witty, is denied a fair chance at life solely because she is a female. This reflects the deep-rooted cultural preference for male children in Indian society. The play critiques the subtle and institutionalized sexism in family and medical decisions. Gender discrimination. The surgery decision becomes the central symbol of patriarchy, where the boy Chandan is given preference over the girl Tara. Tara, though intelligent and witty, is denied a fair chance at life solely because she is a female. This reflects the deep-rooted cultural preference for male children in Indian society. The play critiques the subtle and institutionalized sexism in family and medical decisions. Representation of disability. Disability is not treated as a mere physical limitation, but as a socially constructed stigma. Here we can see that disability of Tara is not natural. In fact, it is imposed on her by society through the wrong decision of the family along with the doctor's unethical practices. Tara, despite her brilliance, is marginalized and ridiculed because of her disability, which is no fault of hers. She was not even born with disability, she was given that disability. Society's insensitivity, as seen in Rupa's mocking behavior, reflects broader prejudice against the differently abled. So, Dattani challenges audiences to rethink disability, portraying Tara as capable and deserving of equal opportunities. Family as a site of conflict and betrayal. Family is supposed to be the safest place or our sanctuary. But instead of being a space of protection, the family becomes a source of betrayal for Tara. Patel's emotional detachment and Bharati's complicity in the surgical decision expose the destructive effects of societal norms. Bharati's later overprotectiveness to cover up the guilt. It is a psychological response to guilt, not genuine empowerment for Tara. The play suggests that love in families is often compromised by patriarchal pressures. Psychological dimensions, guilt and memory. Chandan's transformation into Dan symbolizes survivor's guilt as he cannot accept that his life came at Tara's expense. And he also feels guilty for Tara's short lived life. Writing becomes Dan's way of confronting his guilt, though it never fully heals him. Bharati's psychological breakdown stems from the burden of her past choices. Memory acts as both a narrative tool and a psychological prison, binding characters to their trauma. Identity and selfhood. Tara's struggle for recognition highlights how identity is shaped by gender, disability, and social bias. Chandan or Dan embodies a fractured identity torn between the life he has and the life his sister was denied. The duality of Chandan Dan illustrates the tension between escape and remembrance. The play critiques how society's labeling and prejudice rob individuals of a self determined identity. Science and ethics. The surgery exposes the dangers of science being influenced by social prejudice rather than objective judgment. Dr. Tucker compromises medical ethics, favoring the boy due to patriarchal pressure. In fact, I have always felt, this is my own interpretation, Dr. Tucker favoring the boy, going against the medical ethics, is similar to a doctor who goes against the ethics and indulges in feticide, uh, wherein the screening of a fetus is done to determine the sex of the child. And once it is determined that it is going to be a female child, the fetus is aborted. I feel there is no difference between such a person and Dr. Tucker for that matter. The only difference is Dr. Tucker ruined Tara's life, though she was alive. In fact, he confined Tara to a medium wheelchair, while the other doctor who engages in feticide does it without, in fact, doesn't even give a choice for or a chance for the child to be born. The play raises the question, can science truly be neutral in a biased society? Science can be neutral. Definitely, science can be neutral in a biased society, but society is biased, and people who indulge in science are also biased people. So, in that question, there is no point in blaming science for that matter. It suggests that without ethics, science can perpetuate injustice rather than correct it. I do not agree with it. Science does not perpetuate injustice. It is the people who propagate science who indulge in injustice. Science did not tell that Tara did not have a better choice. In fact, science clearly said that Tara's chances were better while Chandan's was less. But still, we're going against science predictions. It is the patriarchal society which indulges in injustice. Symbolism in the play. The surgery, symbol of patriarchal injustice and betrayal. Dan's writing later in London, it represents memory, guilt, and the attempt at self redemption. Silence within the family symbolizes repression and unspoken truths that destroy relationships. The twins' conjoined condition can be taken as a metaphor for the inseparable condition between male and female lives, yet society insists on privileging one over the other. The play social critic. The play critiques patriarchy, social prejudice, and the marginalization of women and the disabled. It portrays how even educated urban families internalize gender bias. Dattani exposes the hypocrisy of middle class morality, where appearances matter more than justice. By focusing on an urban family, the play shows that sexism and ableism are not limited to rural or uneducated settings. Emotional and tragic impact. Tara's fate evokes empathy and outrage, making the play a powerful social tragedy. The emotional weight comes not just from Tara's death, but from the moral failure of her family. The audience is forced to reflect on the everyday injustices within the family. The tragedy is heightened by the fact that Tara's wasted potential was unavoidable, making the injustice even more painful. Recapitulation. Let us try to recapitulate what we discussed in the course of the session. The play exposes patriarchal bias and gender based injustice. It depicts family dynamics shaped by societal pressures, explores guilt, regret, and fractured identity, uses symbolism of conjoined twins to mirror inequality. It reflects urban Indian hypocrisy behind a progressive facade, addresses universal issues of gender, disability, and equality. It breaks traditional theatrical structure with minimalism and introspection. Multiple choice question. What narrative technique does Dattani use in Tara to reflect fractured identities? Flash forward technique, symbolic dreams, non-linear structure through memory, a single continuous monologue. The answer is option C, non-linear structure through memory. What does Tara's character primarily symbolize in the play? Modern medical progress, wasted potential due to gender bias and disability, victory of science over superstition, the unity of family bonds. The answer is option B, wasted potential due to gender bias and disability. How is Bharati's overprotectiveness toward Tara best understood? As an act of rebellion against patriarchy, as a sign of genuine maternal empowerment, as a psychological response to guilt, as a way to gain Tara's affection? The answer is option C, as a psychological response to guilt. What ethical concern does Dr. Tucker's role highlight? Advances in surgery for conjoined twins, lack of resources in Indian hospitals, medical complicity in patriarchal bias, the inability of doctors to save Tara. The answer is option C, medical complicity in patriarchal bias. The last question. What does Dan, that is the older Chandan's act of writing, represent? A successful literary career, escape from family memories, coping with guilt and search for redemption, or rejection of his cultural roots? The answer is option C, trying to cope with guilt and search for redemption. Tara is a haunting mirror of a society bound by bias, guilt, and silence, urging us to see, to feel, and to change.